Get that old butt all ready. Doga, 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 doga. Oh, that's the good stuff, right? Okay. Here we go. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Houston with a Problem. The current problem is this shirt is fighting for its life right now. I may bust a button and it may crack a camera lens, so no stretching. I like this shirt, but I definitely have outgrown it. So other than the fact that I've got to suck it in the entire show, Hurricane Milton smashed into the West Florida coast, has done tons of damage, ripped the roof off Tropicana Field. Good thing, Tampa Bay is in the playoffs this year. A quite silly thing to do was Ron DeSantis made Tropicana Field a shelter for first responders, and everyone's like, but the roof is fabric and it's going to rip off. And Ron DeSantis like, fuck you. And then the roof ripped off because it was fabric, and none of the emergency workers got to rest up during the hurricane to get ready because they were too busy fleeing the wind and debris that was pouring into Tropicana Field. Storm surge pretty significant. Communities like Venice, Florida, completely inundated with 6-7 feet of sand, filling up homes and whatnot. Lots of tornadoes. As a matter of fact, it was the most tornadoes ever counted in a single day in a state, over 130 in a 24-hour period, all across South and Central Florida. Lots of damage. I guess we'll see kind of what comes out of it, but looked like a pretty powerful hurricane. Did a lot of boo-boos. So yeah. Other science note, tonight is a G4, possible G5 aurora. So if you are basically middle of the United States up, you should be able to have aurora possibly over your head. I'm going to be heading out tonight because it's going to be crystal clear here in Seattle. And I'll be posting photos like everyone else. So keep your eyes peeled and head out tonight and look for some aurora. Okay, main news. The hopium's starting to build again for next week regarding Bed Bath & Beyond. It's going to be 1 year on the 18th since they nixed the ticker and removed the shares. It's also Canadian Thanksgiving, and the whole tinfoil of make Thanksgiving great again happening. And it's a short week here in the U.S. because it is Columbus Day / Indigenous Peoples Day. So Monday is going to be a bank holiday with no trading going on. So short weeks, weird things happen. And I say, let's have the weirdness. Let's bring it on. So, the BBBY ticker appears to be popping up in more brokerages all of a sudden, where it had disappeared entirely before. Yeah, I got my hopium up. I'm ready for something interesting to happen, and I really hope it does because I'm tired, boss. It's us, So, what shall we do? Since we're doing a little speculation station, how about we do this one? Boom.
Houston, we have a problem.
Okay. Shboink. That's off. Okay, here we go. Mr. Lasuna. Hey, Houston Wade. Just heard the term super ionic ice, sorry. No idea what it means, really. Can you dumb it down for me? Super ionic ice. My guess is they strip the ions from the molecules in the water and then freeze it? That would be what ionic would be, right? Other than that, I don't know. Super ionic ice. Super ionic ice. Put up into Chrome. Oh, wrong window. Don't want it over there. I want it over here. Super ionic ice. Hot ice may be nature's most common form of water. New experiment confirms the existence of super ionic ice, a bizarre form of water that might compromise a bulk of giant icy planets. Huh. Okay. What is this all about? Go there. Monkey, what you yakking at? Okay. So, recently, a laboratory for laser energetics in Brighton, New York, one of the world's most powerful lasers, blasted a droplet of water, creating a shock wave that raised the water's pressure to millions of atmospheres and its temperature to thousands of degrees. X-rays that beamed through the droplet in the same fraction of a second offered humanity's first glimpse of water under those extreme conditions. The X-rays revealed the water inside the shock wave didn't become superheated liquid or gas, paradoxically, but just as physicists squinting at screens in an adjacent room had expected, the atoms froze solid, forming crystalline ice. You hear the shot. Okay. So, finally today, nature confirms the existence of super ionic ice, a new phase of water with bizarre properties. Unlike the familiar ice found in your freezer or at the North Pole, super ionic ice is black and hot. A cube of it would weigh 4 times as much as a normal one. It was first theoretically predicted 30 years ago, and although it's never been seen until now, scientists think it might be among the most abundant forms of water in the universe. Okay, so you put this stuff under incredible pressure, right? And what you'll get is a strange solid. Okay, so it's kind of like the water version of liquid metallic hydrogen. It sort of achieves a new state as a result of that pressure. So, in big planets like Uranus and Neptune, might have a high enough pressure to do that. Huh. Interesting. Superionic ice can now claim the mantle of Ice 18. It's new crystal, but with a twist. All the previously known water ices are made of intact water molecules, each with one oxygen atom linked to 2 hydrogens, but superionic ice, new measurements confirm, isn't like that. It exists in a sort of surrealist limbo, part solid, part liquid. Individual water molecules break apart. The oxygen atoms form a cubic lattice, but the hydrogen atoms spill free, flowing like a liquid through the rigid cage of oxygens. Oh, weird. Well, there you go. Huh. Weird physics. How about that? Oh, crap, I didn't turn the other one off. Monkey, kill me. I didn't turn the other one off. What is wrong with me? It's a tight shirt. That's what's doing it today. Okay, turn that one off. I'm so proud to turn the butterfly one off, but I didn't think about the other one. Sima Gabdu Nub, second. 4ZZ9, third. Chris Taylor, fourth. 4ZZ9. Do you think this October 18th date has any standing for BBBY? I hope. Friday will be a weird day to do it. So if the 18th really matters, maybe they make the announcement after hours or... But the fact is that the options chain is wild. We saw that the other day. GME options chain. Boom. So if we look at the options chain for... So this week, we got some stuff. We have quite a bit that can go in the money if we see some sort of pop tomorrow. But I think this week we're kind of at a low. 20.5, somewhere in there. I had gotten some 21.5s that were at the money last week, and I was like, wow, I could go 22, and it did not. They just crashed. Nothing too fancy happening in the lotto ticket zone, but next week, the 18th, has got some wild numbers. Okay, so we got 15,000 at $20. Okay. 11,000 at 22. Okay. 25,000 at 25. 25,000 at 30. And we get to get up here. Then all of a sudden, at 100, you got 13,000. And at 125, you got 68,000. Who is spending an absolute fortune on these suckers? This is This is some wild, wild, wild speculation. I mean, they're monthlies, but they're not leaps. So people didn't buy this stuff years ago. They bought these fairly recently when they popped up, like 4 or 5 months ago. So that's a lot. Was this all purchased back in June? Buy a bunch of these back in June, think it was going to pop up? Or did some insider, buy a bunch of these knowing that something weird was going to get announced on the 18th? No idea. So I might, if they're a penny tomorrow, I might buy 100 of them just for the hell of it, just to see what happens, because I'm a degenerate gambler. And all it can do is remain a penny or go up to $2 or something, or to 2 cents, and then I double my money. But I am going to be playing a significant chunk of options for next week, playing some weeklies, probably at the money. So my guess is these will probably be about, if there's no huge price action, these 20.5s with the 21s, probably like 65 cents, somewhere around there. And I'll probably buy, 10 of them or something. And just to see what happens next week. Pure curiosity. So yeah, I think we're in store for some weirdness. The next swap date for GME is going to be sometime in November. The things in November monthlies. So we're not in any swap area. We just happen to be bottomed out right now at probably around what our floor can be at this moment. So yeah, just ponder on it. Boris Rasp, Houston. What's up with GME? Still believe MOAS or a huge squeeze coming and the aftermath? Yes. Aftermath? I don't know. Things crash. Buy the dip. Write it back up. Tadalus. Okay, finally I am catching a show. Can you explain the movement of cyclones? What makes them move one way or another? Also, is a cyclone center really the calm spot? Yes. So how cyclones move has to do usually with neighboring weather patterns, right? So they make a cyclonic shape due to the Coriolis force, and this has to do with the way the Earth rotates. So you have a globe. Maybe I should bring up Google Earth and you can see a globe here, because it's always nice to have globes as something you can demonstrate with. Okay, here we go. All right, so you got a globe here. And what the hell? All right. So we got a globe. We'll get it so it's sort of on the equator here. And so the equator is about the middle. So as the globe rotates, right? As it rotates, the surface of the equator is moving at about 1,000 miles an hour. All right. So if you know anything about like record players or rotating circles, the rotational velocity of go at higher or lower latitudes becomes less and less. So if you get up to like Paris, France, as it rotates, is rotating at like 600 miles an hour, 700 miles an hour. So it's about 300 mile an hour difference between Paris and the equator. You get further north, it starts to kind of drop off logarithmically. So you get up to Norway, it's moving maybe a couple hundred miles an hour. You get up to the North Pole, the very dead center, it is moving 0. It is not moving at all. It is, I don't know how to rotate with this thing. It's in one spot, and the entire planet rotates, because everywhere you go, if you're in the North Pole, whatever direction you walk, you're going to be walking south, right? So what happens is, if you've got a storm at lower latitudes, Tropic of Cancer, somewhere in here where these hurricanes pop up, they spin, right? And they're spinning because air that's up here moves south towards the low and hits a region where the air has more momentum to it. So this air is moving this way at, the Earth rotates this direction. So it's moving maybe 900 miles an hour, gets to a spot where it's moving 950. Right? And so the air that's coming from the north heading south, all of a sudden doesn't quite have the same velocity, momentum as the air that is in down south. And the air moving south to the north all of a sudden finds itself moving way faster to the west. And goes from 950 to 900, and so you start to get this curl. And during World War One, they discovered Coriolis effect would affect big guns. So the French had a gun, I can't remember the name. It was like big ass gun or something in French, and it could shoot shells over 70 miles. It was the biggest gun ever made. And if they shot due south or due north, right, they had to calculate the Earth's rotation under the bullet. So you basically had to be like, okay, the bullet's gonna, the munition, the mortar is gonna be traveling at such speed. The Earth's rotating under at this speed, and so if you fired from out here, I don't know, you're somewhere in the Verdun or something, and you're firing in somewhere into Germany, you're going to have to calculate its travel time in the air, the velocity the Earth was rotating as it left, and the velocity of the Earth to where it's going to land. You have to lead the target in order to calculate where it's going to hit. So these things happen in these storms. Now, traditionally, right, you have a cycle. So here on the Pacific coast, we've got cold water comes down from the north, warms up at the equator, busts across the south, heads over to East Asia where it warms up again, heads up the coast, cools off, gets up to Alaska, comes back down. So we have this cycle going on here. In the south, we have the opposite. We've got it coming north, cold water coming north, the Humboldt current, gets to the equator, moves east, and heads on down. So basically, the Coriolis force makes things go the opposite way. You always heard the things about water going down the drain the opposite direction in the southern hemisphere and stuff like that, which isn't necessarily true, but, it's an excuse they make. So what we have going across the North Pacific is an eastward wind coming from the west. So it's going to the east, coming to the west, the jet stream's coming across, and it likes to push storms, across all the way into Europe. Down towards the equator, we've got, the cold currents, these warm currents come off the Gulf, bring to Europe, cold currents come down, get warmed up, and head back across, just like it does in the Pacific. So these dusts during the summer blow off the Sahara. Those dust particles become tiny little bits that water vapor can condense onto. Makes for storm systems off the Cape Verde Islands. The storm systems generally pump across the ocean and meet some sort of weird jet stream and hit something. So sometimes they spool up with the currents, hit the eastern United States. Sometimes they make it into the Caribbean and then come up and hit wherever in here. What we had was a very rare storm with Milton that formed inside this little pocket in the Gulf, which we've had storms form in there before, but normally they kind of track north with the prevailing trade winds. But in this case, it tracked to the east, and this has not happened since 1896. And from 1888 to 1896, there was like half a dozen storms that did this, that formed right here, smacked into West Florida, and just fucked things up. 1888 to 1896 would have been a shitty time to be in West Florida. My guess is this happened because there's a giant heat dome over this portion of the United States. We've read about how it's 110 degrees in some parts of Southern California. It's unusually warm elsewhere. And that this heat dome kind of blocked off the normal jet stream. The jet stream was forced south and came and pushed this storm into Florida. Oh, I got a kitten on my legs. There's a kitten down there. Hi, kitten. What's up, dude? You here to distract me and make me forget what I'm talking about? How about if I grab you? How if I grab you and I pull you up and I make you come up here? Oh, you're purring so hard. Yes. Oh, yes. What was I talking about? I'm talking about storms. Oh, yeah. So that's my guess is that this big heat dome, high pressure, so it's air is moving out of it because it's descending air. And that descending air pushed this storm basically and fed it with warm winds into Florida, and then pushed it out. And now that it's made it into the Atlantic, it's basically just pushing off in the normal direction storms normally spin off into with those prevailing trade winds. But these heat domes are really affecting kind of how the jet stream. They're breaking up the jet streams a lot. Like Seattle should be starting to get slammed with storms right now. It's blue sky. It's lovely because this big heat dome is over the entire western United States. And the jet stream is pushing south when it should be just hitting us directly and making for storm after storm. But yeah, so that's kind of the generality of it. And because we have we have these hurricanes that form off Mexico. They push their way west. Every once in a while, they hit Hawaii. A lot of times they hit lots of the Pacific Islands throughout here. We've got some storms that will build, because this water is really warm. We've got some storms that will build out here. Those are the ones that hit the Philippines, hit Taiwan, hit China, hit Japan, because they spool up with that current, and they go with the Pacific current. And then what happens with Seattle? Seattle will get hurricanes. They don't call them hurricanes; they call them post-tropical cyclones. So like the Columbus Day storm, that was a post-tropical cyclone. That was 1967, 68, 69, somewhere in there. That was a hurricane that spun off Mexico, went all the way across the Pacific. This is like a month-long process. All across the Pacific, hit a bunch of islands, smacked into Japan, spooled off, spun off, and then worked its way across. And once it crosses a certain parallel, they no longer call them hurricanes, they just call them post-tropical cyclones. It's a fucking hurricane. So basically a Category 3 worked its way across the North Atlantic and then slammed into the United States on Columbus Day. So I think it was 11th of that year. And that is what hit Seattle. So Seattle, the Northwest, got hit with this huge storm. It's one of those storms that like old timers are like, you remember the Columbus Day storm? So we get hit with those. In 2014, we got hit with a couple of them also that like missed Hawaii, went up, did around, smacked into us with 100-mile-an-hour winds. Again, they're like unnamed post-tropical cyclones. But the crazy thing is like the Columbus Day storm was almost as powerful as what just hit Tampa. But they just, it's Columbus Day storm. I don't know what else to name it. But they have big old spinnies just like everything else. And the way the Northwest is designed is because it's rotating counterclockwise. Is as it approaches, there's the mountains here, right? And so the wind coming counterclockwise manages to get through the lowlands and up through Puget Sound and makes just for tremendous southerly winds. Absolutely incredible. All the trees just are flopped over facing north. But as a result, we don't get like the storm surge because the water doesn't get pushed through Juan de Fuca into the sound. So we don't really get the storm surge that you get from other storms like that. But, yeah. So, there you go. As hand wavy as I can offer the explanation. Oh, look at that. Look at those little guys. Oh, we can just... What do we do, Bobo? Your Bordeaux? Monkey large? Oh, I can watch that all day. Oh, your boo. Right, monkey? Are they playing? Is that fat cat playing with your best friend? I love it. All right. Relegate them back to the small screen. You watch them up in the corner and ignore me entirely. Okay. Oh yeah, in the calm the center storm. That's the other question you asked. Okay, so you have this low pressure, and all this air is rushing in from the outside, trying to get into the low. Well, you also have these storm clouds that are rising really high because there's a lot of energy being built into them, and they rise really high, and that air cools and has to go somewhere, so it ends up going inside the storm and kind of working this crazy cycle. So that's where you get the calm in the eye. It's because there happens to be just a tiny little piece of high pressure where air is descending inside the storm as it refeeds into the whole system. So when you get really, 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 really tight focused eyes, the storms are generally super powerful, like Milton was. Like when hurricanes have like an 8-mile wide eye, you're like, well, that's a scary hurricane. This one had a 3.5-mile wide eye, and it's a very tight hurricane. Tight like a tiger. So tight they call it Virgie. All right. B-Ball 3710. I'm under the impression Jimmy does nothing unless the market absolutely blows up. Perhaps. We keep holding out hope that there's a trump card in there that, someone has a plan and they're going to go, bing, gotcha, and things are going to go crazy, which is much more fun than just like the entire market crashing and then us frantically trying to do our thing. Oh, that kitty played with you so much that now you got your asthma? Come on, little asthma cat. I know, life sucks. But you're full of steroids. I don't know why you've been coughing so much. I've been like upping your steroids. Okay. Case Chapman, 1-year cancellation of the ticker, not the trading stop, but the cancellation for BBBY, withdrawing the ticker from the DTCC connected markets requires being dark 1 year, if I remember correctly. Also, maps to 1,000 quadrillion countdown, a couple of other minor tea leaves. Oh yeah, what is this countdown looking at right now? Open that. Go to the Twitter. This is he's still at 2, so turn off Google Earth. He's still at 2 following. I wonder if next week it goes to 1. Who has 2 left? It's probably both shitcoins. Shitcoin. So, which one do you think is going to be the last one left? I say WhenCoin is going to be the last one left because who knows what the fuck FinQT.com is. But yeah, he's down to 2. The base. At some point, we should start asking about SimCity 2000 experience during presidential campaigns to check for minimal disaster relief skills. Yes. Yeah, and the boomers will not be able to do that. They'll be like, I don't know what that is. So, yes. We definitely need better disaster response. Like when you elect leaders, elect people who know how stuff works. You don't have to be an expert at disaster relief, but you have to recognize the importance of disaster relief because it affects huge swaths of the population. Will cost, at this point, hundreds of billions of dollars in damage. And, preventative maintenance, proper infrastructure, levees, sewer systems, stuff that can handle these extreme weather events need to be constructed with that stuff in mind because there's only going to be more of them coming. So we have to start engineering with that in mind so that, fewer people die, less property gets damaged. My dad built this telecom switch building. He designed this telecom switch building in Marshall, North Carolina. He said he was watching the news, and telecom switch building is totally standing. It's basically a giant concrete bunker. Let's see if we can find it here. Telecom building, Marshall, North Carolina. It's like this brutalist concrete. Okay. Images. Here we go. It is like my dad did not design it at all with beauty in mind. It was just supposed to be a thing that couldn't get destroyed. Right? So people are like, this thing is ugly. And my dad agrees it is but ugly. But it's this. This is the Marshall, North Carolina telecom switch building. He designed it out in 1974 or something. And, he said he was on the news. Everything around it was destroyed, but there's his building totally fine. Because it was designed not to be pretty, but to withstand anything. And so it's this brutalist concrete thing. It's pretty ugly, but it's not going anywhere. And because you want your telecom building to be able to withstand natural disasters. And that's what this was designed to do. It's basically an above ground bunker. And he's pretty proud that his shitty looking building withstood everything and everything else around it got wiped out. So, yeah, you have to look at infrastructure as not just getting, services or whatever to people, but it has to be something that can withstand bombs, hurricanes, tornadoes, etc. And my dad hated brutalism. He absolutely loathed brutalism, but making things out of concrete is cheap, and it's not going anywhere. So, and there was no money for him to make it pretty. So he's like, here's your concrete box, put your telephone crap inside. And you'll notice that a lot of telecom buildings in the 1970s, 60s, and 70s that were built look kind of like this. Because, remember, we're in the Cold War, right? We wanted to make sure, okay, a nuke drops, what's going to survive? What do we need? Ta-da! The brutalist concrete cubes everywhere are going to be fine while everything else gets ripped up. So that's what we need to. We need to have more focus on enduring infrastructure than letting building regulations fail. Julio sent me some really great pictures from the tornadoes that hit Florida, showing the tiles on the roofs blew off, and a dumpster was even on top of one of the buildings, and the houses were fine. You just retile the roofs, and they're good to go. The storm windows withstood, the impact resistant storm windows all withstood, and the houses are standing, and they're fine. Yeah. So, like, behind every regulation is usually a dead body. And after seeing the damage of Hurricane Andrew in 1993, the state of Florida forced these buildings, new construction, to be built very robust, and not just like stick built buildings that can blow away at 175-mile-an-hour wind. Julie's Miami super chats. Okay, gang, no more hurricane questions. Thank you in advance. The man is scarred. Well, if it comes up, Julio, I don't know what to do. Okay. Keith Chapman, this was Ross's take on the 1018 date. I think when 1 year's up, everybody is at long-term capital gains. Your dark period can be over, and make the magic happen already. I pointed out on Twitter, the United States entered World War II December 7th, 1942, and left August 15th, 1945. So like 3.75 years was about how long we were in World War II. We had, 3 major fronts, 16 million people mobilized. We were making 1,000 ships a year. Just absolutely insane progress to whoop Japan and Germany, right? And here we are, more than 4 years, 4 years, 2 months, almost 4.25 years removed from when Ryan Cohen bought his huge stake in GameStop to become an activist investor. So we can defeat the evil powers that were Imperial Japan and Nazi Germany in less than 4 years, but we can't, do the damage we need to make GameStop rocket. Like, come on. The Civil War didn't last this long. Let's get this over with. Like, let's do something. Let's have something amazing happen. It's a factory. Still depressed about MMTLP nonsense. What is something optimistic right now? With MMTLP, probably nothing unless they sue. So, yeah. If they don't sue, the company's toast. They have to sue. They have to, because my guess is that they sue, they will reveal who made the board make that decision. And if somebody outside the board made the board make that decision, well, that right there is probably a violation of their duty as the board, and to me would be conspiracy. That would cop a RICO charge. So they got to sue to get the information out, because the board never gave a reason for why they weren't going to renew the lease, none whatsoever. Even though all of the requirements were met. So as someone pointed out, that's promissory estoppel, meaning, hey, you need to meet all those requirements for us to have this contract. And then you meet all the requirements and then you don't get the contract. You just spent a lot of money on a promise to get this contract because you had the exclusive rights to it. And arbitrarily they're like, nah. So you do have footing in court to sue over that. So I think, the board at MMTLP and McCabe, they're probably mulling that over as to if they're going to get an attorney to sue the University Lands. And the University Lands is a public institution. It's a public board, so everything is Freedom of Information Act requestable. You can request all their emails. You can request everything you want out of them, and you can sue the shit out of them to get even more and get private messages and all that stuff from board members. So I think that's what they should do. Otherwise, nothing too good can come of it if they don't fight back. And our friend is here. Alex Bishop is here. Rose Moon, hi. I pulled a stunt and took my work laptop with me to get coffee against the rules. And as soon as I got home, my supervisor called me on Zoom, and I couldn't believe I barely got away with it. Well, there you go. Nice. Belgian whale. I'm never going to be rich now, am I? I'm tired, boss. Oh, I'm so tired. Andrew Stewart, Houston. What is a thing, time, or place that you could wish you could have experienced? Like an orgy at Caligula's vomitarium. I don't know. Things I wish I could have experienced. I like the idea of being at super jubilant events, where everybody is just in a fantastic mood. When I got to go to the Seahawks Super Bowl parade, that was a really cool experience because everyone was so happy. It's so weird to be around that many people who are just stoked to be alive. So 1989 tearing down of the Berlin Wall, when East meets West, people are hugging, seeing family members they haven't seen in 40 years, just loving it up, tearing down pieces of the wall, having concerts. That type of thing is awesome. And so that jubilation of, I don't know, winning or whatever, that'd be pretty cool. Yeah, something like that. I guess if I were to go back in time, it'd probably be to experience a mass jubilation of a bunch of happy people who don't care about what problems may come, what's happening tomorrow. They're just living in the moment, being happy. That's kind of, if I could collect those and put them in my pocket, I totally would. Alex Bishop, Mr. Asuna, Super Ice is used to make ice cream that doesn't give you brain freeze. Pretty sure if you had ice that was 4 times as dense, free-flowing hydrogen atoms, you wouldn't have brain freeze because the free hydrogen atoms would combine with other molecules in your head, and your head would just explode. Boris Raspy, isn't it weird that Roaring Kitty came back after 3 years and went on a meme spree? There are no coincidences. It is very weird. Belgian Whale, just saw you left the same remark on Twitter post. Oh, the I'm tired boss? Yeah. Chris Taylor, when trading fun again? Soon? We'll see. Oh, you know what I've been forgetting? Oh my gosh. I have been forgetting to make my stupid Charity Tuesday raffle list. I have my Charity Tuesday raffle right here. I just realized I forgot to put this sucker into an Excel spreadsheet and then do a raffle. Duh. All right. Tomorrow's show, I will finally do the raffle. Also, I'm going to try and get all of these packages over here finally mailed. I've gotten all of the sticker requests out and mailed, and the first 24 that came in, they're getting a mystery prize from Mystery Michael, and I got to ship all those things out. So that's going to be an hour at the post office. Maybe I can do a pre-show tomorrow. I'm going to piss everyone off because they're going all over the place. Some of them are International Monkey. It'll take an hour and a half at the post office. That tiny little post office. They're going to be so mad. Not the post person, but everyone behind me in line. So maybe I should do that tomorrow. What was I talking about? Do you remember? I don't remember. Ice cream, coincidences, when trading fun again. Jiminius, Houston, I work in IT. It's cool coming into work and seeing a stock market like heat map where Florida just read offline. Yeah. Lisa saw no labs. Let's say shareholders approved plan to issue more shares. Price will drop. Just want to time any buy the dip opportunities. I think it's already approved. I think they've the number of shares have already been approved that they can sell. They're just going to issue them because they need to. I think they said in their plan was to raise $75 million. So that's something that they're going to be doing here. But yeah, there probably will be some dips in there. If they haven't filed for FDA approval. They're doing their shareholder meeting on the 25th, and I think the 27th they've got to give their response to the New York Stock Exchange as to how they're going to meet the listing requirements to stay on, which I think they need $6 million in free flow cash on hand. Roof and Turf, any tips on rolling calls? I don't think my ones for tomorrow are going to print. I'd roll them now. If you can do anything. Basically, all rolling calls basically does is that they just sort of sell the call option at what it's at, and you use that towards buying a new call option. So you'll still have to pay money for the new options, but that's kind of just how it rolls. I sold mine today because I don't think it's going to above 2150 by tomorrow. I think it's going to kind of stay around 2050, and that's going to be, I think Max Payne's around 2050 right now. GME Max Payne. Max Payne is at... Oh, Max Payne's at 21. So, yeah, it's at 2080 or something right now. So, that's about right. 80,000 calls currently out of the money. October 18th, there's 253,000 calls currently out of the money for next week, and the Max Payne's $20. So, wow. River Turf, and back to the box. 2009. The $1 million was tax-free in 1976. 5.5 million today. So would you push the button knowing someone you don't know would die? So 50-50 chance Trump voter. No, I still wouldn't push the button. If I'm going to sell my soul, it's going to be for something ridiculous. Absolutely like get invited to the WEF type money. That's, people yell at me for making more people on Earth poor. That kind of money. Bezos money. I'd sell my soul to do that. A passing cloud, continuous delivery. Give me fuel, give me fire, give me my gosh darn BBY shares back. Yes. Keegan Murphy, happy birthday, Houston. Tell us what you think of Robotaxi Day. Is that the day that Tesla finally reveals the Robotaxi they've been promising for 10 years? They missed the 8/8 date, which I think there should be SEC investigation into Elon Musk just for that. Because back in April, it was revealed that they canceled their project in designing an affordable car, and so the stock started tanking. And then Elon's like, "But we're gonna reveal Robotaxi on August 8th," and then nothing happened. So the stock went back up again based on that promise that was never revealed. So I think any Robotaxi using Tesla technology is going to kill people and be completely untrustworthy. I would not trust a Tesla Robotaxi. They don't have radar. They don't have LiDAR. They're using nothing but optical fields, and they get in a lot of accidents and cause a lot of damage with that. And I would not trust Elon with any of that. Julius, I'll just sit my damp butt here and listen. Jared Lang posted a riddle on X. Did he? Posted a riddle. I did not actually look at that. Oh, there's a riddle there. Born of paper, yet never in hand, I move without borders across every land. Buried in puzzles, unlocked with might, my ledger is open, yet stays out of sight. What am I, whose spark may soon erupt, as code and consensus prepare to disrupt? Oh, he is launching a crappy, shitty coin, isn't he? It's going to be a secret coin used for money laundering, like Monero. Man, Jared, if this thing is some stupid coin, dude, no one is going to like you. But maybe he's talking about blockchaining some stock. We can hope. But yeah, let's see how pissed off people are in the chat. Okay, tokenized shares. You are Bitcoin. Best be talking GameStop. BBBY. Going BBY going T0. That'd be nice. Blockchain. That's a no from me, dog. The answer riddle is cryptocurrency, born from white papers such as Bitcoins, blah blah blah. Project Gemini. The shady squinty eyes. Dogecoin, Bitcoin, Moon Shoes, Wisdom. Basically, everyone is like, I hope it's something that is good, and then everyone's like, it's fucking crypto, isn't it? And that's kind of the... Shut up. Okay. Yep. So basically, either people hoping it's GameStop or BBY related, and everyone else going, shit, it's coins. All right, cryptocurrency, crypto, blah 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 blah. I'm tired, boss. This thing is a stupid crypto coin. I want to smack a bitch. Okay. Yo, coin. I will just leave my GME stock to my children. Not happening in my lifetime. Probably. Oh, crap. Just reset. Where'd you go? Okay, there you are. Huge unit. Calls on whatever those shirt buttons are made of. Titanium. These suckers are ready to bust out of me. Tej. Hey, Houston. Things with no labs are looking pretty grim. Not sure if even the upcoming announcements they are expecting can even serve the company from the amount of short sellings going on. Or save the company from the amount of short sellings going on. I mean, all they need to do is announce that they're filing for FDA approval. And I don't know when it's going to be. The hope was it's going to be the fall of 2024, which we're now in the fall of 2024. They did kind of seem like on that call they did recently that they got a couple things they got to iron out before they feel confident to make that. So maybe it's pushed off further. But, you know, thumb twiddling. That's where we are. Maybe we'll have more fancy news on the 25th when they do their call. Collins here. AMD 85. Just joined the GME XXXXXX Club. Welcome. Love Sarom. What's your thoughts on DJT? There's a video going around of this guy being like, the New York AG in the Trump appeal on the fraud charges totally shit the bed, blah 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 blah. It seems like the judges are gonna kick it to the curb. And if you watch that TikTok, the guy makes a very compelling case that the AG really fucked up their defense of the appeal and against the appeal. And but if you read news accounts, it seems like a very normal interaction between judges asking, "Hey, what jurisdiction do you have for this? Why is he the only person who's been charged with this in the past? Who's been injured? Blah blah blah." And was the fine egregious? Was the fine normal? And then they asked the Trump people. They're like, "Hey, your guy obviously broke these laws. Why are you appealing?" Right? So they're these good appellate judges ask a lot of questions, and you won't know which direction they're going until they finally come out with their decision. So I don't think it's necessarily going to go Trump's way because he did break the law. What may happen is they may be like, "Oh, he broke the law, but the fine is too big. We'll change that," or it might just be like, the whole thing. But they're not going to overturn the decision. I think he did break the law. There's ample evidence that he broke the law when there was fudgy numbers. The difference was, or the complaint basically comes to, was there an injured party? And Deutsche Bank, who gave the loans, was like, "We weren't injured. We made money off of this." And Donald Trump's lawyer's like, "But everyone made money. They're happy." But if everyone makes money off of crime, right? Like if I sell drugs to a child, the kid's happy, right? They got their product. I'm happy. I made some money. Where's the victims here, right? You can't just be like everyone made a profit off of the crime and then be like, "See, there's no problems." This button just totally came undone. So it's one of those things the court can ask these questions, but then they got to go, okay, if everyone's making money off of crime, maybe we should do something about why they're making money off of crime and actually punish someone. Jimmy D super chats. I haven't seen Jimmy D in a while. Handsome man looking to move to Portland, Oregon. Tell me, why are people scared of the Cascade Fault and not other natural disasters? Oh boy. Okay, we got to bring up the Google Earth again. So, doink. Come on, Google Earth. There we go. All right. So, we have you've heard of the Ring of Fire, which basically is this entire ring that goes all the way around the Pacific. You can see all these trenches and everything all over. Trench. This is basically the Pacific Ocean, which is like an entire face. I mean, it is an entire hemisphere of the planet, basically. The Pacific Ocean is getting smaller. I know it doesn't look like it, but it's getting smaller because the Atlantic Ocean is getting larger. So the Atlantic Ocean has this big spreading ridge that goes down the middle of it. The continents there used to be smushed together, and something happened where a big old line of volcanoes appeared, and is now this conveyor belt of basalt pushing the Atlantic wider and wider, and it widens by a couple inches a year. Conversely, as you know, Europe, Africa moves to the east, and North America and South America moves to the west, it causes Asia, Australia, and everything to start closing in on each other. So, you know, in a billion years, we'll have another supercontinent where everything smashes into each other. And as these plates, this big oceanic plate gets squished smaller and smaller, and ocean rock is much more dense than continental rock, because continental rock has a higher silica content. Silica ends up making the rocks a little bit lighter than they would be otherwise. So the continental rock floats on top of the really dense oceanic basalt, and so you get, you know, these subduction zones. And here we've got a subduction zone off of the coast of Washington, where this little teeny tiny plate, the Juan de Fuca plate here, this little oceanic plate that used to be huge at one point but is now just teeny tiny, is dipping underneath the western United States. And as it dips underneath, right, it heats up, makes molten lava, and then that molten lava comes out as volcanoes. So you get the Cascade Range here. You come down here, we've got the Pacific Ocean going under, I think it's called the Humboldt subduction zone, if I remember correctly, and doing the same thing. You get this whole arch of volcanoes going from like Colombia all the way down to Tierra del Fuego, and it's diving underneath. Here you have a much bigger trench though. This is moving much faster, so it has a much bigger trench. There's much more mass on this giant chunk of plate. You got a couple little plates. This is like the little Nazca plate. Here's also an ancient little oceanic plate that's not much is left of. And up here, there isn't that big a trench. There's a bigger trench up along the Aleutians, bigger trench along Kamchatka Peninsula, Japan, all the way around like Saipan and whatnot. And the same thing with the Philippines, because these things are moving faster, and the Pacific plate is much bigger and more brutal than this tiny itty bitty little Juan de Fuca plate. The thing is that when we had over here, we have another subduction zone, because the Indian Ocean, same thing's happening. Africa is moving that way, so the entire Indian Ocean is trying to dive underneath what is Indonesia, making for island arc volcano chains. With 2004, we had the Sumatra earthquake. It was a 9-point something ridiculous, huge tsunamis, killed hundreds of thousands of people, absolutely brutal. Christmas Eve, 2004. Since then, every single major subduction zone on the planet, every single one of these things, Aleutians, Japan, you know, it's Japan tsunami in 2011, the big earthquake that happened, 2008, 2009 in Chile. Every one of these subduction zones has had an 8.5 or larger, except this one. This one has not had a major earthquake since January 28th, 1700. And this subduction zone is locked. Normally along these subduction zones, especially the ones with the deep trenches, you've got little earthquakes popping off all the time. Because it's slipping, it's moving, it's whatever. This sucker has not budged in decades. No tiny little earthquake. Nothing to go ping pong, pong, pong. Just no release of pressure whatsoever. And yet the entire globe has had like shifts and wiggles, and Sumatra itself moved like 100 meters. The entire island of Sumatra, which is like almost the size of California, moved 100 meters in one direction due to that earthquake. We have not had anything pop off here. So, earthquakes happen every few hundred years on this fault. Unlike up here, you'll get an earthquake every 20 years or so, because it's much more active. And when it does rip, it rips hard. And because the pressure is building up and building up and building up, you get some pretty crazy hills that form along the coast. So like up here in Copalis, Copalis Beach. Up here in Copalis, right, we got this little river system here that pops out. This land, as the pressure builds up, this land starts to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. It can end up being 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 feet above the water. And when the earthquake finally releases and that thing slips, all this land goes from hill to just flat. And the ocean can come rushing in. So you can get tsunami based upon the displacement of land inside the ocean, but you also get permanent inundation of the ocean. So how they discovered the date of this earthquake, January 28th, 1700, was basically a tsunami ripped across the ocean, right? And the Japanese, they have a very sophisticated society at this time, written language, blah, blah, blah. And there was no earthquake over here. But the tsunami came out of nowhere and just wiped out a bunch of villages along the entire east coast of Japan. And so they wrote down like, holy shit, an orphan tsunami. The tsunami came out of nowhere. There was no earthquake involved. We have no idea where it came from. That's messed up, right? So like, boom, noted, right? Well, they're trying to figure out where that earthquake came from. And a scientist about 30 years ago was along the Washington coast, and here in Copalis, there's what are called ghost forests. So you can kind of see here, there aren't really any big trees here, but there actually are a bunch of dead trees all along this river. And these dead trees, they did carbon dating. So they took carbon dating of the soil, carbon dating of the wood, and it dated to about 300 years ago. They went, oh, that's interesting. All these trees died at the same time. So then they looked at the soil and discovered, hey, you have like normal, forest floor, normal forest floor, normal forest floor, tsunami. Oh, a whole bunch of ocean shit got deposited, a bunch of saltwater intrusion, and all these trees died. Interesting. So 300 years ago, we had all these trees die at exactly the same time. And it looks like they died because the ocean water came in and stayed for decades and killed them all off. And it happens to coincide with that ghost tsunami in Japan. They went, oh, what happened was big old earthquake along the coast. This whole region went blunk, and the ocean water rushed in, killed the trees, and then over the last 300 years, it's built back up again, and the stumps are starting to come above ground again. So basically, they're scared of this fault because when it does rip, it rips huge, and it generally doesn't do like one center. Like you might get a giant earthquake right here. It's a 9.0, lasts for 5 minutes, and everyone goes, oh crap, and things fall down in tsunamis. What you generally get is a zipper rip, where it can start at one end, and you get basically infinite epicenters all the way down to Northern California, because the entire plate moves at once, basically. And those earthquakes can last like 15 minutes. So imagine a 9.0 starting here, going there, and over the next 15 minutes or so, you have nothing but 9.0s rip the entire length of this subduction zone here, causing infrastructure to fail along the coast, causing tsunamis across the Pacific. The localized tsunamis here could be 100 feet in the right harbors, right? So you might have certain harbors that will focus things in, ocean shores, Aberdeen. You have a 100-foot tsunami come in, push all the way up river, maybe all the way to Centralia, just messed up stuff. Tsunamis ripping in through Juan de Fuca, causing flooding up in Vancouver, Seattle, all over. And with a 15-minute earthquake, bridges fail, water systems fail, landslides where, these are really, really, really steep. You can't really see it from here, but like the south end of Whidbey Island, this is like a 300-foot cliff. So sea level, 322 feet. This is a giant clay cliff that just goes slip right into the Puget Sound, causing a mega tsunami to wipe out huge chunks of population centers the entire length of Puget Sound. So imagine that 300-foot cliff falls in the water, generates a 400-foot tsunami that then spreads throughout the entire Puget Sound, killing everyone. So in Puget Sound, those are big problems. There's the Seattle Fault, which runs from the Olympic Mountains, under Bremerton, under Bainbridge Island, under where the football stadium is, through Mercer Island, out into the Cascades. And Newcastle here is a big hill. Newcastle, 900 years ago, fell into Lake Washington, caused a 1,000-foot tsunami in Lake Washington. It's this lake right here. Imagine this little lake, a 1,000-foot tall wave in this little lake, washing over everything. Mercer Island's dead. Medina, where Bill Gates is dead. People in Bellevue, dead. People in Madison Park and University of Washington, dead, 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 dead. Terrifying, right? Portland's got its own issues. You'll get tsunamis that will rush up the Columbia River. So the river will look like it's going backwards. You'll have landslides all over the place. This is a really steep area. So, you got downtown Portland. I went to school up here in Lake Oswego in Lewis and Clark. And you're at 200 feet, 300 feet, 3, 4, 5, 500 feet. And then down the river, you're at 10 feet. So it's 10 feet above sea level right here, this river. So you can go to get brackish intrusion all the way up, right? So you can get landslides into the rivers, especially with a 15-minute long earthquake, especially the wrong time of year. Like if it happens in January when it's been raining for 40 days in a row, that land is really saturated. Splunk. We have lots and lots and lots of unreinforced structures. It's a lot of unreinforced brick structures. And Portland hasn't been hit with any major earthquakes in a while, so they aren't quite up to date on making sure all the buildings up to code like they are in Seattle. So there's I think 11,000 brick structures in Portland that are unreinforced that will just collapse in an earthquake like that, trapping and killing everyone inside. You have a lot of old causeways, viaducts that aren't made for lateral shear. So in Seattle, we tore down the viaduct, downtown Seattle viaduct. Let's see if we can get some images here. So you can see it's no longer there. The viaduct used to be along here, and now it's just a flat roadway. But if I were to go back in time, where's my here we go. 1985. Give me some images. No, not gonna give me images. Okay, let's go to recently. Let's go to 2004. There we go. The viaduct's right there. This is the elevated, built in 1950s, double-decker elevated highway along the waterfront. And the 2001 Nisqually earthquake caused it. This thing shouldn't have been standing. It basically caused so much damage. It was closed for months while they had to do all sorts of reinforcement on it. And finally, they tore it down just a few years ago because they built a new tunnel under Seattle to replace it. But there's a lot of these in Portland, especially where I-5, 215, and 205 and I-80 all meet. I-84 all meet. So there's a lot of those. So basically what you're looking at is like horrible. Sorry, let's close that. Go back to modern times. Horrible tsunamis on the coast. If it happens in the summertime, you're looking at, I don't know, probably a couple 100,000 dead along the coast. In the wintertime, people aren't out the coast, so you won't be as many. You've got huge shaking. So these population centers are, they're 150 miles away from where the epicenters would be. So you have to worry too much about the shaking at first, but if it lasts 5 to 15 minutes, things start to jiggle apart in that time. So you'll have collapsed bridges, trapped population centers, but the tsunamis from landslides, I think, are the big thing people have to worry about, especially. And if you are on the Pacific Coast, Pacific City, Rockaway Beach, Cannon Beach, the earth trembles, you run for the hills, and you run as fast as you can. Just run, because that ocean's going to disappear, and it's going to come roaring back with absolute brutality. Earth wants to kill you. The Earth wants to kill you at all times. Space wants to kill you. Everything wants to kill you. The fact that we exist is through pure happenstance, because then eventually, in the end, it'll get you. John Hooley, Super Chats. Hey, Houston. At the current price, Carl Icahn's drip is due to put him at 100% ownership of IEP in 2 quarters. How could that play out? And what will happen the following June when he auto-buys more? Squeeze, baby. Squeeze. He can buy up everything, and if there's naked shorts out there, and he decides to give himself a $50 dividend, and he takes it all as shares, right? That's $50 every single solitary share price out there. He could squeeze that thing anytime he wants. So yeah, squeeze, 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 squeeze. And it seems to be that's exactly what he's doing, is that the plays he's made in other stocks in the past, he's having to do on his own stock that he's got control of, because he has, 91% ownership at this point? So, yeah. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. EB, Super Chat, hey Houston. Just started watching the show, love it. But I believe the big artillery piece you're talking about was German, not French. Germans made a few. One was called the Paris gun. Okay, it was German. You're right. One of them, they're huge, and they shot artillery 70 plus miles. Yes, I will stand corrected. I will trust your statement on that. Now where am I? Okay, 336. Those huge unit T's. No Labs one. That was that one. Thoughts on DJT. Robert Munson. Your last show was a real downer, not your fault. Thought I had my retirement handled. Guess I'll use my 11,000 shares of NextBridge that I bought at the Torchlight merger OG holder to wipe my ass now. The board needs to sue. And we should probably be writing letters to the board being like, sue these clowns. If anything, get us all the information as to why they made that decision and make it public. That's probably what we need to be getting the board of NextBridge to do. Corporal Walnut. I knew in my gut BBBY something when Adam Aaron diluted during a run and mentioned our bankruptcy in his letter as to why he should dilute. Zapdos. Shout out to Monkey Butt, the fat cat and the kitten. Well, there's the monkey butt. There's the fat cat, and the kitten has run away somewhere. I don't know where the kitten is. Did you chase the kitten away, monkey? Monkey's looking at me as if she's going to get a treat. But she's not getting a treat right now. But she can stare at me all day long with those sweet little brown eyes. Ludicrous Speed. Comedic bank issues today. Seems like we're on the verge of a bank collapse. Happening again? Which bank? Is it like Bank of America last week, having everyone's accounts zeroed out? All right, Manson, come on, Ryan. Save my ass in retirement. Scott Pullen. GameStop selling out of 30th anniversary PlayStations in minutes today. Bullish on Q3, Q4 this year. They did tweet out, and it's gone. Richard Gregorio. What are your views on RADCQ holders getting made whole with equity and or cash for any carve-outs? Right now, it looks like they got turned private, handed over to their creditors. I have no idea if anything from RADQ is going to come out. I know there's lots of hope in a similar way there is for BBBY, especially since ICANN does seem to be... ICANN and 6th Street are players in Rite Aid. But there does seem to be a few different things in the way the credit bid process worked in Rite Aid. So it looks a little more similar to like what Party City is doing than what BBBYQ is doing. So, I guess we'll see. Time will tell. Justin, Houston, I'm dead tired of being around people in our BBY play. I'm praying this ends soon. There's a lot of dickbags. There are. A lot of racists, a lot of weirdos that like make me really uncomfortable. A lot of conspiracy theory nut jobs who like there's some that do really, really, really good due diligence investigating. And you'll read their reports. And you're like, oh yeah, okay, there's evidence for that, there's evidence for that. Oh yeah, that makes sense, there's evidence for that. Then all of a sudden, after like 10 pages, on the 11th page, they go cuckoo bird. And they're like, and then JFK Jr.'s coming back from the dead, and he's going to lead a revolution, and then Donald Trump is going to save the world and buy all the GameStop stock. And you're like, what? You're doing so well parsing through this information, and then what's up with page 11 here? It is absolute cuckoo bird batshit. Just, insane. So like, when you read this information, you have to like you have to put your little skepticism cap on, be maybe a little cynical, and read this stuff, and then sort of pluck out the things that actually pertain to stuff, and then just sort of ignore the cuckoo bird batshit QAnon, JFK Jr. is gonna become Jesus stuff. Like, I don't understand how people even get to that point, but You just have to kind of take the things that have evidence and ignore the things that have no evidence. That's the best I can offer you. Tampa Bay Buckeye, hey, so I survived Milton, and you have internet, so and you're able to watch. Fantastic, Tampa Bay Buckeye. Are you Tampa Bay Buckeye because you're a Buckeye in Tampa Bay, or are you a Tampa Bay person in Ohio? Because if you're in Ohio, then definitely you survived the hurricane. Mr. JJ, Houston, how do you make your cheese on toast? Have you tried it with Worcestershire sauce? Sorry for using big words. Cheese on toast? I have never made a cheese on toast in my entire life. I've made grilled cheese sandwiches. But cheese on toast, just like melting cheese on a piece of toast, I haven't done that. I have... But the way I do a grilled cheese sandwich is pretty simple. Bread, mayonnaise, mustard, cheese, right? Sometimes I might throw some like bacon or something in there. Grill it up. I use mayo, not butter, for the lubricant to fry the bread. And then you make yourself some potato soup and you dip that sucker. As for like cheese on toast, that sounds like something British. So no, I've never done that. Colin, really hoping next week pushes hard for GME. One call for next week, a couple for the week after. Might grab a couple more for next week. Sure, why not? Why Tyler? Where are my BBBY attendees? Don't know. Scott Pollan, National Cat Day is October 29th. Kitty, you hear that? That's your National Cat Day. Oh, speaking of national days and forgetting to do the raffle for the drawing, Charity Tuesday will actually be Charity Thursday this month so that I can be in character for all of you. We'll do a Halloween Charity Tuesday again. And do I still... Yeah, I have a Halloween intro. Okay, yeah. So we'll have we have a Halloween intro still. So we'll do a Halloween charity show. It's going to be for World Central Kitchen yet again. As our favorite go-to charity, especially when natural disasters happen. Because Chef Jose Andres does such a marvelous job getting food to people in places hit by war, natural disaster, famine, you name it. So we'll be raising money for World Central Kitchen on Halloween, which is a Thursday. So be prepared for that. It'll be Charity Tuesday on a Thursday. Charity Thursday. Right, Monkey? All Monkey cares about is her own getting fed here. I am her personal Jose Andreas. Okay, buddies here. Tampa Bay Buckeye, be smart by leaps. G-Font. Super ionic ice, part solid, part liquid, all party. GL 2023. Nobody should trust Ryan Cohen. This comes from another supporter. Robert Manson, you used to speak on this. You should do so more. I'm a union carpenter, first 9. Yes, I had 9 years. I had 13.30 per month pension. In 2008, I worked non-union for lack of work. Went back to union 2014. Now 10 years in. My pension is $1,540. This is what these assholes did to the working class, and now they effed me again on NextBridge. PPP should talk more about it also. No, support your unions. If you have a chance to work in a union, work in a union. You'll get better pay. You'll get better benefits. A union welder will make like $70 to $100 an hour with pay and benefits. A non-union may make like $25, right? A union auto worker will make $100 an hour with pay and benefits. A non-union might make like $18.50. Union all the way. When I was a wee lad, I worked at a grocery store as a grocery bagger. So 16, worked a grocery bagger. Had to join the union. I was like, this is bullshit because I made minimum wage. I made like $8 an hour or whatever minimum wage was in Washington at the time. And I was like, why am I paying $75 a quarter to get minimum wage? And then after my first year, I was up to like $12 an hour. It's like, okay, so I automatically got a pay raise. After 19 months, I was at $19 an hour. This is 1996, 97, right? I was at $19 an hour after a little more than a year and a half on the job, which like a lot of people in a lot of parts of the country would be stoked today, almost 30 years later, to make $19 an hour. I was making it as a union job bagging groceries for people in the late 90s. So union. Teaching for a non-union school, right? Taught RS2 Seattle. I I made okay money, especially if I could load up on a lot of classes to teach. But it was like per class was like what, $300 a week per class, Monkey. So it's like $1,200 a month to teach. So in a quarter, you'd make maybe $3,500, $4,000 tops, teaching a whole quarter for a class. But if you can stack up 4 more classes on top of that, okay, you can make, a couple thousand a month. You do all right. Teaching at the Seattle Film Institute was about $2,000 a quarter per class. That is not good. That is garbage. That's garbage pay. Teaching at public community college, where I've got a union, I do like $6,000 a class per quarter. So I'm making, 50% more than I did at the Art Institute, and about 200% more than at the Film Institute. So, unions, man. Unions. And the tuition at the community college is cheaper. Way cheaper than the other schools. Those other schools, you're charging kids $40,000 a year, $50,000 a year to go to school, paying teachers dirt. At the community college, you're charging them $2,000 a year, and the teachers are getting paid more. Unions. Union it up. Support your unions, man. Yeah, there's been problems in unions in the past, with probably organized crime, crap like that. But in the end, if you work for a union, you're going to get paid more. You're going to get more out of it than if you don't. And, distribute that wealth. Your labor is worth something. Take what you can out of that. Your CEO may have to buy one less super yacht. But you know what? That's okay. He doesn't need that super yacht. You need a vacation and healthcare and everything else. So, do that. Hazel A. Houston, I'm hoping all Trump's lies about hurricane relief cost him votes. I've just read a thing today that people reading about basically the Trump lies and the weird Russian propaganda against FEMA has resulted in folks in North Carolina refusing aid and then starving. So, just when the government aid workers come and bring you food and water, take it. You're starving. If they were there to kill you, they would just kill you, right? Just take the food and water, take the help. What is wrong with you? You just got racked with a hurricane with 44 inches of rain, flooded and wiped out everything. The roads are gone. They're literally there to help you because they have no other job to do that. So yeah, I hope it costs some votes too. Mr. JJ, hang on, Houston. Is the toilet water going clockwise or anti-clockwise, depending on hemispheres or not? Toilet water, generally no. Toilet water oftentimes has angled nozzles that force the water to go in one direction or the other. So yeah, if the water is falling in naturally, you will get a Coriolis force, but it's usually has to do with the design of how they're forcing the water through, because the Coriolis force is not very big over a foot. It just isn't. Yeah. Little B got here just in time for kittens. Yes. Where's that kitten? That kitten's fun. Right, fat boy? You're having a good time doing some WrestleMania with that little kitten. Mr. Asuna, how do you feel about no labs? 10% down a week. Did I miss some news? It went from 26 to 33 to 26 again. It's just kind of doing what it does. Will Milton affect the UK? I don't know. I mean, it might get a rainstorm out in the UK. Let's see what the National Hurricane Center. National Hurricane Center. What's it got for us? Milton is now a post-tropical cyclone. Hey, it's already a post-tropical cyclone, huh? Looks like it's going to be a depression heading out. So it looks like it's going to be a big old rainstorm, basically. Now. So it's now post-tropical cyclone, but still in the tropics. So I don't really know why the post-tropical cyclone. But it looks like it's heading out. Looks like it's going to hit Europe with some rainstorms. It won't have the hurricane force winds because it's a depression now. But let's see here. Oh no, it's still a storm. It's still a storm. By Sunday, it will be a depression. So Let's see here. It's going south of Bermuda. So Bermuda, you can have some good surf. And then my guess is probably past north of the Azores and then smack into France. Who just got hit with was it Henry or something? What was that? What was that storm? What else we got out here? We've got Leslie. Leslie is a tropical storm. She looks like she's going to spin off. Yeah, she's going to spin off, hit the Azores, and then probably drop a bunch of rain over here in Morocco. Have you seen the amount of water in Morocco right now? They're saying so much rainfall has hit Morocco that it's made areas that haven't had water in centuries, like lakes, and that now it's creating a cycle where it just keeps raining over and over as that water evaporates, makes rainstorms and drops again. So Morocco may be going through a greening period, and it might last years or decades as a result. So one big storm can really make a huge difference in places like that. It's pretty incredible. Let's see if we can find... oops. Morocco. Yeah. They've had just a boatload of rain. So the sand dunes now have like crazy lakes forming. Come on, give me... So there we go. So you got like, these are like little, I don't know, date palms or something going on here. But now you got all these lakes all across Morocco. And it's now creating like localized rainstorms as it evaporates and then dumps rain again and evaporates and dumps rain again. So they have this like greening cycle going on in a lot of these places that just haven't had water like this in centuries. Here's a road. It's a boulevard right there. So it's pretty cool. Be a great time to go visit. Yeah. Yeah, so scientists are thinking this is going to be it's going to create a cycle, a water cycle. So expect things to start to get green all of a sudden in places in Morocco as a result, especially if they get hit with another tropical depression that's going across. So fun. Talking about kittens. Smoking too much catnip. Kitten uses an inhaler. The fat guy doesn't use an inhaler. I may have to start getting him one of those inhalers because I think his steroids are no longer working anymore. That's you asthmatic little freak who coughs too much. Yeah. It seems like the magic of his prednisone is wearing off. I've like been upping his dose because he's been coughing, and it doesn't really seem to be doing much. So you have to get one of those like nebulizing inhalers. You basically put a space helmet on the cat and you force them to breathe the inhaler. And I don't know how much it's going to cost me. I hope it doesn't cost me a fucking fortune. The prednisone's the only cheap option. The other one is you get a steroid injection once a month and it's like $150. But the prednisone lasts 3 months and it's like $16. So Kitty, why does your body have to be failing you? Why? You can't get more expensive before GME pays out. That should be the rule. Okay? Can you do that for me? Where am I? System 54. What's the FINRA versus Citadel drama? Apparently Citadel got busted not reporting. I'm out of the loop. Yeah, Citadel got busted not reporting transactions to the CAT system. And I'm sure the fine is going to be like, you got to give Gary Gensler a massage and kiss him on the cheek or something. But yeah, so they got busted breaking the law. Let's see if anything comes of it. I doubt it, but we can hope. J223, I put $3,400 in TSLZ. Is that the anti-Tesla thing? Coughing again. It's okay, buddy. You're okay. I know. Little coughing man. When I first got this cat, he was doing this coughing thing. I didn't realize cough. I thought he was about to dry heave and puke up a hairball. So I constantly grab him and like throw him into the bathtub, and then nothing would come out. And for like a month, took him to the vet, and I was like, this cat must have a hairball the size of a football inside of it because it is not puking it up. And the vet just did one little lesson and goes, oh, he's got asthma. That's him coughing. Yeah, oh, little buddy. I know. Life sucks. Mr. JJ, if the power goes out, I might get Garden Livecast instead. Oh, shoot. There goes reboots here. First day production is about 2,100 no labs, more GME, and no IAP calls. There you go. Luis Gonzalez, Houston. My sister-in-law works for Dave, bank ticker Dave. When I look up the ticker, there's two. One is a stock, one is a warrant. What's a warrant? Both are tradable on Webull. A warrant is like a call option, but instead of being for a contract for 100 shares, it's a contract for 1 share. So you might, I don't know, let's say you have a warrant for stock at $10, right? So it allows you to buy that 1 share at $10, and the stock's trading at $20. That warrant is basically worth $10 now because it's the difference between what you can buy the share for and what the actual share price is of the stock. So that's kind of how it goes. Yeah, so they're just little mini calls basically. It's what did in a lot of the shorts on Hertz, was that people in Hertz got tons of warrants. They got to buy the warrants at like a penny each, right? So the warrant might be for the stock at $10, and you buy a warrant for a penny each. So for $100 you can get 10,000 of them, right? And it gives you the right to buy the stock at $10. Well, the stock was trading at 13, and then 30, and then 40, and then $45. So that warrant that you bought for a penny, all of a sudden is worth like $35, because that's how much over the $10 it is. And you bought that thing at a penny, right? And you just made like 35,000% off of your investment. So not too shabby at all. That's one of the hopes that happens with BBBY, is that something similar like happened with Hertz, and that people get offered, you might get, let's say they bring the shares back and you get 1 share for every 10 you had. So if you had 10,000 shares, you now have 1,000 shares. You go, oh man, that's less shares than I had. But then they'll say, hey, for every share you had, you now get to purchase a warrant. So if you had 10,000 shares for $100, you get 10,000 warrants, right? And that 1 share of stock comes back on the market at $40. And that warrant is for a $5 stock or a $10 stock. So all of a sudden, those 10,000 things you bought for 1 penny are now worth $350,000, $400,000, somewhere in there. So, and the warrants have to get purchased. The warrants can squeeze themselves, because if there's naked shorts out there, then the naked shorts have to go and purchase the warrants to make good on the stocks they created, on the stocks they lent out. So there can be actually a squeeze on the warrants, can make the price of the warrants go higher than the stock did at first. So it can then start to squeeze itself out, causing then squeezes on the share price and so on. So that's could be magic. Could be magic. They could do something if Ryan Cohen and GME are behind it. They could be like, hey, we're going to give you 1 GME share for every 10 shares of BBBY you had, and warrants to purchase GameStop shares. Buy the warrant at 10 cents or 1 cent, and the stock's trading at $20-$25. Boom, money, right? So, yeah, warrants are often given out as incentives for later investment. So you need cash now. It's cheaper for a financer to buy a whole bunch of warrants, maybe at $1 each or something from the company, rather than the full $100 share price. And they can give them immediate cash flow, and then later they can exercise the warrant or trade it or whatever. But yeah, those are the warrants. Mr. JJ, seems like max pain is the best indicator for price movement. Usually. Robert Pierpoint, oh my, something along the equator for me, huh? Well. Let's Google Earth that. Vistaprint, why are you giving me advertisements? Go away. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Going to an atoll? Oh, where are we? Philippines? Where are we? We are at a cock-shaped church. What's it called? Benteng Português Tuloco. Historia de Navegador Francisco Sierra. Okay. That looks like a fort, maybe. That's definitely a fort. Looks like we have ourselves a wiener-shaped fort from space. Let's give me that side of the wiener. There's a big old ball. There's the nut. Okay, where are we? In the Philippines? There's an airport there. The volcano. Oh no, we're in Indonesia. That's the North Maluku. All right, you guys want to go hang out at the Fort Cock and Balls? Looks like a great place to visit. Got a promenade. There it is, leading right. Oh, you guys can't see. Here we go. There's the outside. There's one nut. There's another nut. There's a urethra going right through the thing. Yeah. Nice. Nice. Right. Another shot of the nut. Nut on one side. There's a ladder to climb up the shaft on. Tink that something right there. One of them, when they designed that thing on paper, even in 1580 or whenever the Portuguese built this thing, if they were knowing full well what they were designing, because that's cock and balls. That is definitely 100% cock and balls. So, yeah, cock and balls all the way. Nice, nice, Robert. More dicks from space, monkey. Want to come by high five? No? All right, I'll give you a treat. I'll give you a treat. You can chew on a crunchy thing. Look at the crunchy thing. It's staring at me long enough, and we're an hour and a half into this. Come on. Come on. Yeah. Take it. Take it. Don't be gentle. Just take it. There you go. Boom. Makes those crunchy sounds. Mr. JJ, what will happen when the last of Bitcoin are sold? Supposedly the price goes up. I don't know. Chris Taylor, Bitcoin ETF? Lol. Just as good as Bitcoin, but make believe. Yes. I mean, like, could I launch an ETF claiming that I have a bunch of Bitcoin in it and not have anything in it? Because who's going to check, right? ESMAC DOJ on TD Bank. Department of Justice doing something to Toronto Dominion? Colin. Looking like some sort of issues with Comerica Bank today as well. Funds locked and balances not uploading. Interesting. Joe Wichman, why do hurricanes never cross the equator? That has to do with those cycles as well. So, if we go up here, let's leave Indonesia. Indonesia's pretty close to the equator. They don't really get the cyclones though. So, it has to do with how water warms, right? So, we have the currents, like here, cold coming across from Asia, down from Alaska, warms up, gets warm, creates a hurricane. The warm water carries it across the ocean, across to Asia, where it hits the currents again, follows up, comes over, and so the cycle happens. Same thing happens in the Atlantic. Same thing happens pretty much down here. Although this water is especially cold from Antarctica, so it doesn't really generate many storms here. They start to generate more when it's warmer weather. You get the cyclones, tropical cyclones down here. And those things with Samoa and Fiji and Tahiti and whatnot. Same thing happening. You get cyclones that form north of the equator and can hit places like India, Burma and whatnot. Sometimes they go in the Persian Gulf. We had one go in the Persian Gulf last year. And then you get ones that form and carry across and hit Australia. So Western Australia can get hit with cyclones as well. But the equator passes through here and they don't cross the equator. And the reason why they don't cross the equator is because the air is always rising at the equator and heading out. So there is no way to build a storm via the Coriolis effect on the equator because the air just goes up. It doesn't really do it. It goes up and out. It doesn't really have anything spooling in. So you don't really have these high pressure systems forming on the equator because of Coriolis force happens above the equator. Coriolis force happens below the equator. Coriolis force does not happen at the equator. So any storm that gets close to the equator just becomes this thing that stops being a monster because there's no more vortex in it. That's the best way I can describe it for you. There's a cool map that shows you hurricane formation. Let's see if I can find it. Map of all hurricane paths ever. Maybe it's just cyclone paths ever. All cyclone paths ever. Here we go. Oh, you guys can't see it because that's there. Okay, so let's see if we can make this guy big. So this shows all the cyclone paths that have ever been created. So you can see that there's one rare guy that formed down off South America. But for the most part, like, you don't get them forming up here where the water's cold. You get them forming down here where the water's cold. You don't get them forming down here where the water's cold. The Caribbean and Gulf creates really, really warm water. That warm water makes the cycle, pushes extremely warm water into Europe. And because the Atlantic is smaller than the Pacific, that warm water travels further. You can, like, if you take the area of this and transpose it on the area of this, it's actually a pretty similar shape. So for these cyclones to make their way across the Pacific is quite rare. And because, the water gets cold and they lose the energy. Whereas if we also had like a really, 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 really big Atlantic Ocean, you would see a warm area off Africa that was huge that would create lots of hurricanes like off of Mexico. And again, you get the same thing happening. These storm systems form, hit India, hit Arabia, hit Burma, etc. And then the storm systems form and they hit Australia. Or they end up moving south and dying in the cold waters. The roaring 50s that go around the Earth, around Antarctica. So you don't get them crossing this ever because the updraft from the warming from the sun and the fact there's no Coriolis force means there's just no way for them to vortex and create power. Okay. I wish that picture was a little bit bigger, but that's what you got to deal with. Down Under says Bed Bath is dead. Maybe. But, gives us something to talk about. Just Miami says, Colin, talking about Comerica Bank. If you go to their X account, it's hilarious. Our IT team is working on it. We do not have an estimated time. Wow. Oh, really? Comerica. Comerica Bank. Yeah. Here we go. Alert, due to a technology system outage, most banking center functions as well as web banking and mobile banking are currently unavailable. ATMs are operational, but balances may not reflect recent transactions. Our technology team is working to resolve these issues as quickly as possible at this time. We do not have an estimated time of resolution, but we will update this message as status changes. That's 9 hours ago. They have no update. That's the entire workday gone for people that need that bank. Oh, he tagged me in it 41 minutes ago. I'll go like that. Interesting. That seems like a giant IT failure, right, kitty cat? John R., what do you think? Possibility of MMTOP going bankrupt? Now that they do not have no longer have control of the university lands, very, 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 very high. Very high. They got some land. It's not producing yet. It's not very big. The reserves aren't very large compared to what was on university lands. So yeah, if they don't get something out of the board, a RICO charge, whatever, get their shares back or their lease back, I don't think NextBridge survives. I think this is a kill shot done by some various nefarious actors. Citizen 54. Georgia Election Board lawsuit dismissed. Psychos get to stay on the board for now. They are trying to steal this election. I'm not sure people will stand for it. We are at tipping point. Thoughts? I thought the feds had already told the board that they have to certify the election when the vote count is totaled. And if they don't, the feds will just certify it for them. I thought that was kind of what the DOJ thing was. Mr. JJ, what's the best natural disaster movie? Probably the most accurate would be the TV movie The Big One. Maybe the TV movie Super Volcano that was on Discovery about 20 years ago. Those two are probably the most accurate disaster movies you'd get from a fictional disaster or a possible disaster. That tsunami one was pretty horrible. About the family on vacation in Indonesia. That was hard to watch. Not horrible in that like it was a bad movie. Horrible in that shit like that happened to people. I can't remember what that movie was called, but that was a hard watch. The Rock movie, the Megaquake movie, whatever that was called, that was ridiculous. The Core is ridiculous. Day After Tomorrow, they took like 100 years of climatology and squirted it down into a day. And then a couple of big things that were wrong, like they had supercooling air come down from, was it like the tropopause or thermopause, and like no, that's warm. Air's actually warm, and you know you wouldn't get the instant freezing overnight. It's like stuff that would happen over like 100 years. Still, you know, it's a movie. What other movies we got, Monkey? What other ones can we include? Now that I gave you a pig ear, you don't care anymore. You can't even look at me, even though you've been staring at me for the last hour and a half. Yeah, probably Super Volcano and The Big One. Both made for TV movies. Both way more accurate than anything. Dante's Peak was pretty good. That does a good job for what a stratovolcano in the Cascades would be like. It came out at the same time as Volcano, which was like an Anne Heche movie that like a volcano opens up in Los Angeles. No, volcano's not opening up in Los Angeles. Terrible movie. But Dante's Peak came at the same time with Pierce Brosnan. Much better. And then Twister. Twister's pretty good. Yeah, that'd be my top 4. Just Miami Fidelity confirmed 77,000 customer records were hacked, including license, social security numbers, and personal info. Sheesh. I mean, wasn't our entire Social Security administration hacked recently with 2.5 billion Social Security records for every American who's ever lived? So, it's out there, man. Vernok. Anyone else having an issue with the stream skipping a second or two from time to time? It might be me. I do have the stream bitrate warning happening, but it has not done any max headrooming yet, so we're okay there. EB, love it. Random facts, clogging brain finally get used. Yes, thank you for the Paris gun. ESMAC, TD Bank fined $3 billion by the DOJ. That's a good fine. Let's see what TD Bank fined $3 billion. $3 billion historic money laundering settlement. Oh, laundering money, eh? TD Bank, one of Canada's biggest lenders, has agreed to pay more than $3 billion and plead guilty to criminal charges in the U.S. after allowing drug cartels and other criminals to transfer hundreds of millions of dollars in illicit funds. Prosecutors said the bank operated with inadequate guards against money laundering for nearly a decade, failing to act even when staff flagged obvious cases of abuse, such as customer making daily deposits of $1 million in cash. The lender is now facing restrictions on its own on its growth in the U.S., as well as the biggest fine ever under anti-money laundering law. Chief Executive TD Bank said the bank was taking full responsibility for its failures. Bahat Masrani said the bank had the financial strength to weather the situation and will be making the investments, changes, enhancements required to deliver on our commitments. The bank said it would be a multi-year process, but had already taken some steps to overhaul its anti-money laundering operation, or their money laundering program, adding more than 700 new staff specialized in the issue. This is a difficult chapter in our bank's history. These failures took place on my watch as CEO, and I apologize to all of our stakeholders, he said on Thursday. Mr. Masrani announced last month he would retire in April 2025 after a decade at the bank's helm. TD Bank is the largest lender in U.S. history to plead guilty to failures under the Bank Secrecy Act and first to plead guilty in conspiracy to commit money laundering, the Justice Department said. I thought HSBC got like a $12 billion fine for money laundering, 10 years ago? 12 years ago? Merrick Garland said the bank was cooperating with investigation, and further individual prosecutions were expected. By making its service convenient for criminals, TD Bank became he said, or became a criminal. A press conference announcing the charges, U.S. officials said the bank, the 10th largest in the U.S., had starved its compliance programs of investment, even as it grew. I wonder how much money they managed to launder. Officials said one customer used TD Bank to launder more than $470 million in drug proceeds, making large cash deposits and bribing staff with gift cards. The official said another scheme involved participation of 5 bank staff who helped to issue dozens of ATM cards, facilitating transfer of $39 million illicit funds to Colombia. Penalties include $1.8 billion to the Justice Department, $1.3 billion to the Treasury's Financial Crimes Enforcement. Shares plunged 5% in the news. There you go. Doing crimes. Criming it up. Crime it up, crime it in. Let me begin. Okay. Baby Brand, I want to watch the live, but my internet is dying. Bummer. Are you somewhere that's been hit by things recently? Little B's got to run. GDC. Happy birthday, HW. The English language does not have words to adequately express my frustration with how long BBBY is taking. After MOS, I'm setting up a think tank to address this. One in. Sure, sign me up. Tej. Hey, Houston. Could the special meeting of No Labs potentially be about taking the company private? Ron may as well, seeing how it's been going. No, I don't think they're going private. I think that they're just going to announce what's going to be taking place in the future. Possibility for applying to the FDA and compliance with their listing. So maybe a partnership somewhere in there. Because that press release they had about the non-compliance seemed to indicate that they may have a partnership already lined up. Colin really is waiting for Bank of America to really blow up, sitting on some puts for such an occasion. Brandon Wells is here. Joe's Mammy, Dario just posted a really good write-up on Warren Buffett and Bank of America. Warren Buffett is now below 10% threshold in Bank of America. He can dump everything whenever he wants. He's sitting on something ridiculous, like $200 billion in cash right now. That's a lot of cash. It's a lot of cash that's, might be earning some nominal interest while it sits. But it seems like Buffett is waiting for everything to collapse. He will take that $200 billion. He will buy everything up, and that $200 billion will become $600 billion inside of a year. That's my belief. Sis54, Houston, tell us a dark joke. Does Houston have a dark sense of humor? Oh. Dead baby jokes? How do you unload a pile of dead babies in the back of a truck? With a pitchfork. Why do you unload a pile of dead babies from the back of a truck with a pitchfork? To separate the live ones from the dead ones. Dead baby. Dead baby. Live baby. There you go. All right. GDC, I really liked San Andreas with a Rock. That's what it's called, San Andreas. That's right. It's a movie. It does its computer animated special effects things. It's entertaining, but it's not how the San Andreas fault works. Okay, so I guess the Dario thing is all about buybacks. Bank of America's doing buybacks. And Buffett always knows buybacks are keeping a lot of companies afloat, in all honesty. Oh, prior to COVID, so 2019, I believe it was January 2019 when I read the article, they're talking about the Trump tax cuts and how the Trump tax cuts had not resulted in reinvestment by these companies into employing people and, improving business and doing research and development and making products better, etc. That the buybacks had actually resulted, the tax cuts resulted in huge corporate buybacks. Not only that, but in 2019, 109% of all corporate profit was being used for stock buybacks, meaning companies were borrowing money and then doing stock buybacks to keep their shares afloat. So this is pre-COVID, before they got all of their PPP money and things like that and kind of bailed out. So yeah, it's been a huge problem for a long time. That's why the Biden administration, was it last year, year before, was trying to pass a law taxing stock buybacks. And they're doing it was going to be like a 1 or 2% tax. It'd be nothing. I think it should be something more significant than that if you're doing stock buybacks. If you're spending money on buying stock back and not on, dividends, investments, research and development, etc., you tax it at like 50%. Make it hurt. Make it so that they actually spend the money on the company itself and not on boosting the stock prices so that the CEO meets price targets and gets huge bonuses. Just Miami Seahawks keep it close tonight? The Seahawks played a Monday night game, a Sunday game, a Thursday game. So they played 3 games in less than 2 weeks. I think they're going to be tired. I think they're going to be sore. I think, you do what you do with that, but they haven't had much recovery time in the last 2 weeks. So it's gonna be a struggle. I do have Geno as my quarterback this week for fantasy football, simply because Josh Allen's had his bell rung twice in the last 2 weeks, and I think he's probably so. And I didn't play Geno the last 2 weeks, and he scored a lot of fantasy points. So my guess is the Seahawks are now going to lose horribly because I have Geno, and there you go. Who am I playing this week? Am I playing? Who am I playing? There it is. I am playing someone. Who am I playing? And I have a lot of bye week people also. So I am playing Cornhusker Kool-Aid. Whoever Cornhusker Kool-Aid. Oh, Cade. I'm playing Cade. He's got the same record as me. I am projected to win, which means I'm going to lose. Because every time I'm projected to win, I lose. Every time I'm projected to lose, I win. So there you go. GDC. Yesterday was a dark day for America as Steve Cohen Mets beat America's team, the Phillies, in the playoffs. Yeah. How the Mets bounced out of the absolute dog shit they were pre All-Star break to get in the playoffs is mind-boggling, because they were ready to do a sell-off at the trade deadline, and it sounded like the Mariners were going to pick up Pete Alonso for something to make a playoff run, and then the Mets ended up making the playoff run. The Mariners didn't make the playoffs at all. Just mind-boggling. Yep, the Phillies are gone. Sorry, Philadelphia. Colin, Houston. Looks like he's still reporting sales even though he's under 10%, so that's what the Dario post is about. Oh, really? He's letting everyone know that he's selling it. He's like, hey, everybody, I'm still selling this crap off, just so you know. Interesting. I wonder if he has somebody that works that is on the board at Bank of America, and that's why he's got to do the reporting. Citizen 54, Houston Wade. Trump associates Hannibal Lecter with asylum seekers because of insane asylums. Where did nuke hurricane come from? How did this melting brain make this connection? Yeah, so Trump's stump speech or stump stream of consciousness seems to, whenever he talks about asylum seekers, he starts talking about Hannibal Lecter. And that Hannibal Lecter or Hannibal Lecter-like people are coming across the border because he doesn't realize that asylum seekers are different than people who are in mental asylums. So he seems to equate asylum seeking with mental asylums. And so he goes off on this tangent because he doesn't understand what's going on because he's a moron. the nuking the hurricane thing is just so dumb. First of all, a hurricane, the amount of energy that comes out of a hurricane is astounding, right? In 1 second, more energy is expended by a hurricane than a 50 megaton nuclear bomb. In 1 hour, a hurricane produces more energy than the whole of the United States has the capacity to produce an entire year. A hurricane in general, over the course of its span, will produce 12,000 times more energy than the United States could ever hope to produce in a single year. 12,000 times more energy. So when you say like, oh, you're going to nuke a hurricane, all you're going to do is create nuclear fallout that comes with the hurricane. You're not going to change anything. It's going to go whomp, and the hurricane's go, I don't care, and keep doing its thing. You're not going to accomplish anything out of nuking a hurricane, shooting it, whatever. And then you got these weirdos who think they can they've got some sort of crazy inventions that can control hurricanes and seed hurricanes. No, we don't. We don't. The Doppler radar is not generating hurricanes. It's a 450,000 watt radar that checks for raindrops and can tell you if a tornado is touching down. It's not the winds. The winds of a hurricane are over 1.5 trillion watts. That radar is 450 kilowatts. You're not going to be doing anything to that storm that the storm doesn't want to do. The storm will do what it does, and we can't do anything about it because we don't have the power infrastructure in place to do anything about it. Can you get 12,000 U.S. electrical grids, multiply all of our power stations by 12,000, and then we might be able to actually match the power of a hurricane. But would we be able to do anything about where it goes or how powerful it is or why, for some reason, the hurricane building machines only happen to work during hurricane season and hit places that have only been hit historically by hurricanes? Like if we had a hurricane machine, don't you think we would create hurricanes in places where hurricanes have never seen before? Right? Like the South Atlantic. If we had a hurricane machine, we'd create some hurricanes in the South Atlantic. Because we can, right? Why not? Why not do it? Why are we only creating hurricanes where hurricanes naturally form all the time? You got me, man. Okay. Citizen 54, also data record for IEP. I'm thinking of getting in on 100 shares for giggles. I need a win. Don't expect it, but a win would be great. Jamie holding strong. It's your IEP, and if you turn on reinvestment on, then you end up with more shares than you had before, and it just keeps growing at a rate of 40% a year. So at the moment, so not too shabby. It picks them up around $9.84, and hoping to get a bit retrace at the rest. That's a pretty good price, $9.84. That's like what, $13 right now. LMF, I don't know. It was pretty bright in Brooklyn. Let's go Mets. Well, Mets fans. I'll take Mets fans over Yankee fans, though. Colin, ideally head down to close one or both of those gaps below and add more. Talking about IEP. And Northern Lights will be visible in Ontario, Canada right now. Oh, sweet. Well, it gets dark here in a couple hours. I think around 9 p.m. I think it's supposed to start peaking for us here, according to the current forecast. So Monkey and I will race out, and we will watch. Right? You want to watch some more Northern Lights again, Monkey? Take some more pictures of driftwood and lights. Sounds like a plan, huh? Yeah. I love when she gets her pig ear. She is not. She's like, I'm done with you. Okay. I'm at the end of the chat, and it's 4:30, and I got to go away. Tferg77733, welcome to Problem Solver. Welcome, Tferg. Join us. Now I'm running away, though. Tomorrow, I need to make my raffle list. Raffle list tomorrow. We'll raffle off a 50-cent wish item. I've got a really cool item coming from Michael Mystery to use. We'll probably use it for Halloween as well as the last couple of 50-cent wish items. It's going to be a giant sluice box, a big 50-inch sluice box. You can go gold mining. Be a pretty cool prize. So Halloween, we're going to do Charity Tuesday on a Thursday because it's Halloween, and I'm going to be beautiful for all of you. Okay. 6:54. Please stream tomorrow. 2-hour stream? Maybe. Depends on when I get my shit together. All right. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great night. And I'm just going to do this one because whatever.